As regular viewers know, I tend to be pro-law enforcement. I support our local cops, troopers, sheriffs, deputies, and FBI. And these days, support for one of those groups will probably anger certain extremist partisans on one side or the other. But anyone who is truly pro-law enforcement also has to be pro-accountability, which I am as well. But let's be clear. There has been accountability. For example, in Memphis with the charges against the officer, and for Derek Chauvin and the officers involved in the George Floyd case. And as I discussed last week with Democratic Congressman Steve Horsford, the head of the Congressional Black Caucus, police reform is an important topic. But as I also told him, it needs to be realistic and productive, which some of the calls for reform are not. Tonight I have another member of Congress with us in studio, but he's also a former law enforcement officer, now representing New York's 4th Congressional District. Republican Anthony D'Esposito, a former NYPD detective who made more than 600 arrests during his decade-plus career in law enforcement. He's one of the 40 GOP freshmen sworn in last month, named to several committees, including the powerful Homeland Security Committee. Congressman D'Esposito has positioned himself as a moderate, willing to work across the aisle, which is something that we love to champion on this show. And he joins us now. Congressman, thanks very much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, and thank you for your support of law enforcement.
Absolutely. So speaking of law enforcement, I went through certain reforms with Congressman Horsford that I thought could make sense, including a national database for confirmed cases of police misconduct, banning no-knock warrants, only allowing those who are properly trained to use chokeholds, for example. But I said you can't eliminate qualified immunity and you shouldn't eliminate all chokeholds, et cetera. And he said, well, we're 90% in agreement. And my concern was that we're never going to get to that 10%. Are we ever going to get there?
Well, I would hope so, but I think some of the things that they're proposing are just they're not realistic. And part of the problem is, much like we saw in New York when the Democrats imposed criminal justice reform, and they said that those reforms were put in place to protect the minority communities. But at no point did they have any communication with the actual people who are on the streets enforcing the laws. And that's part of the problem here, is that they want to impose these restrictions, and I will call them restrictions because most of them are not reforms. They're actually restrictions on how to conduct yourself in law enforcement, and some of them still handcuff the police. And at no point are they having discussions with the people who are actually doing the work.
What are the non-starters that they're talking about?
Well, qualified immunity, like you mentioned. Even some of the chokehold. I mean, being trained, and the diaphragm. When you're in the street and you're wrestling a gun out of someone's hands who could potentially kill you, you shouldn't be thinking in the back of your mind, I have to be careful as to where I touch this person because I don't want to be indicted and go to jail. Even, honestly, the no-knock warrant is an issue for a lot of law enforcement. I mean, when you go and obtain a no-knock warrant, it is not the law enforcement agency who decides whether it's a no-knock or not. It's the judge. And many times that endorsement is put on those warrants to protect, evidence or protect those.
But the reason I support no-knock warrants is I worry about the cops.
Yeah.
Right? I worry about the danger for police as well in no-knock warrants, and a lot of cops feel that way.
Absolutely, and I've conducted hundreds of no-knock warrants, and I understand it full well. But the problem is that when they're talking about it, they're not understanding the actual, the complete look at the at all of the policies.
So it sounds like it's dead, as far as you're concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're willing to budge, 1 inch.
So let me ask you about the weaponization committee, all right? To me, it's effectively a crusade against the men and women who are in the FBI. And as I said at the top of the show, I support the FBI, I support the local cops, the sheriffs, et cetera. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've said from day one that one of the things that I think that we're losing focus of here is that we need to focus on the leadership and the failed policies that have created the issues in law enforcement. And nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop. And by painting everyone with a broad brush is a serious problem.
But the leadership is a Republican, right? It's Christopher Wray. He leads the FBI.
Yeah.
The FBI has brought down numerous, and I keep talking about this, big-time Democrats in 2022 alone.
Absolutely.
And this notion that they're all out to get Republicans. The FBI is so biased that the leadership is just going to get Republicans. It seems like nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like I said, we see it in many law enforcement agencies where something goes bad and they paint the entire agency with a broad brush, and it's not the way to handle things. And quite frankly, I don't think it's what the American people want to see.
I don't think so so either. And I think that's the problem with this weaponization committee. It sounds like you have a problem with it, too. Thank you for watching. Go to NewsNationNow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.